All right, everybody, the final stop on the road to UFC 285 is complete. And it's complete with a little bit of mayhem, a little bit of wackiness, a little bit of craziness. But in the end, it was not Nikita Krylov and Ryan Spann who closed the show. It was a rare championship fight in the main event of a fight night event. Brendan Allen retains his middleweight title, submits Andre Muniz in the third round. The stakes could not have been higher. Graduated to the main event, and boy, did Brendan All-In Allen deliver in a big way. Welcome to the UFC Vegas 70 post-fight show here on MMAfighting.com. I am Mike Heck. Got a whole crew with us. First, my best friend, Alexander K. Lee, joins us. Hey, K, how we doing, buddy?
It's felt like a very long day. There was a lot of combat sports-esque content to digest. I don't want to call all of it combat sports, but it was definitely combat sports flavored. I will say again, combat sports-esque. I don't know how everyone else felt about it. I don't know how much content everyone else consumed, but I saw probably 90% of what you could watch today. I had double screens going. Probably should have had one more, but yeah, there was a lot. We have no shortage of topics, despite this UFC card, which is sort of headlining our show here, not being the most narrative heavy card, but we have that to talk about, and we'll touch upon some other things, I hope.
And we also have Shaheen Al-Shadi joining us from Phoenix, Arizona. Shaheen, how are we doing, my man?
Oh, we're certainly doing, as AK said, it is quite an interesting Saturday. Combat sport adjacent, maybe. I think a lot of that. I know in particular one fight that AK had a good time with earlier in the Mayweather card. But yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, that was certainly a UFC card, wasn't it? We just all watched that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on when you watched, but yeah, certainly it was a card in a UFC octagon in a UFC building, and that's always half the battle. But Shaheen, I want to start with you because you've been very high on Andre Muniz for a very long time. Very, very high. You and Jed were very confident that Andre Muniz was going to put the boots to Brendan Allen and do just really bad things to this man. And I just wasn't with you guys. Like I picked Andre to win, but I thought this fight was going to be very competitive. I actually thought Brendan Allen was a step up in actual competition compared to Uriah Hall and some of the other opponents that he had. Maybe he didn't have the ranking, the cachet of a Uriah Hall and the name value, but skill for skill, I thought he was better than Uriah Hall and probably anybody else Andre Muniz has faced inside the octagon. So now that this fight, this main event, Andre Muniz's failed attempt to become the middleweight champion has come and gone, submitted in the third round. How surprised were you to see this all play out?
I mean, how surprised? I was very surprised. You're right. Jed and I, we plant ourselves on a lot of corners. You see, when you do that, sometimes you make some terrible mistakes. I clearly made a terrible mistake on this one. I was on this show yesterday arguing vehemently against you the idea that Andre Muniz could even be involved in a middleweight title fight. Like he felt like he was above that. He had transcended above that conversation. But I don't know, man. We were saying, off air. I wonder if it's just almost like all of us want so badly there to be the next Damian Maia, the Damian Maia evolution, that we sort of grasp onto these guys. Like, dude, broke Jacare's arm, like that type of thing. Like, he was so impressive up to this point. But I certainly did not have Brendan Allen out grappling Andre Muniz on my bingo card tonight. Out grappling him, it wasn't even a fluke either, right? Like we saw in that second round, hitting those sweeps, top control, everything. He was putting the wood to Andre Muniz, and then in that third round, getting the submission. I mean, that was 9-1 odds, right? Like, I hope someone out there made a ton of money on the rest of our stupidity picking Brendan Allen by submission, because I just certainly didn't see that coming. And it's in retrospect making me do some reevaluation for how we view Brendan Allen, right? Because I still am pretty high on Andre Muniz. I still feel like he will be somebody who matters in this division for a while to come. But Brendan Allen has a sneaky good resume in the UFC now. Like, he officially does. Like, he's 9-2. I'm sorry. Either 9-2 or 8-2, right? And the two losses were Chris Curtis and Sean Strickland. Like, at a certain point, that's not that bad. That's much better than it really, I think we maybe think of him as, or at least did before tonight. So he's going to wake up with a number next to his name coming Monday, and it's very well deserved, man. Like, that was an incredible performance. That was a breakout performance. And to do that on short notice, not in terms of the fight itself, but knowing that you're sort of closing the show and that there's going to be, that much more of a spotlight on your performance. And like we said, we're leading the show today with it, that type of thing. Very impressive, man. You can't take anything away from Brendan Allen. I think very few people saw a result like that coming, and that's the best win of his UFC career by far.
9-2 inside the octagon. He's won 4 in a row. He's won 6 out of his last 7. Dude is on a tear right now, AK. Brendan Allen coming into his own. He looks so good in those first 2 rounds, and oftentimes, it happens, and I think it happened in kind of both of the losses that he had. Comes out looking good, gets excited, gets a little too overconfident, and then gets just sort of caught with something. And it felt like at certain points in round 3, Muniz is starting to tag him a little bit, but Brendan was able to keep his composure, got back to what got him to the dance in that position to begin with, took him down, mounted him, and then eventually just very patiently got himself into the rear naked choke and gets Andre Muniz to tap out. So what did you think of Brendan Allen's performance? How much did he burst through the ceiling and the expectations that you've had for this man?
So impressive. So impressive. My prediction for this fight is terrible. You guys can find out at MMAfighting.com. I had great website. I had expected Muniz to just be the superior grappler. And you know what? Listen, if this was like a straight up jiu-jitsu competition, maybe he would be. But this is not. This is MMA. We do mixed martial arts here. The grappling isn't quite as as straightforward matchup wise, and I should be taking those things into account. But I think like Shaheen said, we're kind of so excited about what we thought Andre Muniz can be. I'm not gonna say could, because I agree. I think that there's still a lot of room for him to improve, learn from this loss, still get back in the top 10. I think he might lose his number in our rankings after this loss. We'll see. Or Brendan Allen will jump into the top 10. We haven't quite sorted that out yet, but we had in the MMA Fighting global rankings, we had Muniz tied for the number 7 spot at 185 pounds. I'm pretty sure he will fall out because, as we said, it'll be hard for Brendan Allen to jump certain names because he's lost to Sean Strickland and Chris Curtis. So the MMA mask can get a little tricky here. But really, all the credit to Brendan Allen. We can say what we want about Muniz. Maybe looking a little off, maybe not being his best, but I think Brendan Allen was certainly at his best, and he's been on a hot streak. This is consistent with his recent performances. This isn't like, oh wow, I can't believe Brendan Allen fought so well. It's like, no, he's been doing well. Muniz has been is a step up in competition from some of the guys he's recently faced, and he stepped up accordingly. He had the right mindset. His striking looked good. Again, it got a little dicey at times, but overall striking looked good. Grappling, we know that's one of his strengths. Did we know that he would get the better of Andre Muniz on the ground? I certainly didn't, but he had the sweep. He got submission finish in the 3rd round. It's just a really, really solid performance. And I do want to say, I don't know if everyone knows what we mean when we're talking about middleweight and the middleweight title, right? Because I worry that I kind of see why Shaheen had this difficulty of placing Muniz in that area, because I would have too. I think we prefer our middleweighty middleweights to not be ranked, right? Normally they're unranked. I think if you're a middleweight, and Muniz was undefeated in the UFC so far, like we said, top 10 in our rankings. I think top 10 in the official rankings. So it almost seems ineligible. But boy, Brendan Allen, unquestionably a very middleweight, brought out the middleweight in him. This word is starting to lose all meaning now. I'm saying it too much. It brought out the middleweight in him, because we got, again, for people who don't know what we mean, this division 185 has had a history of taking like there's just a lot of skilled fighters in there. For some reason, you at some point they get matched up, and just these fights become these sort of formless blobs where like jiu-jitsu experts can't quite show off their jiu-jitsu, wrestlers can't quite show off their wrestling, strikers can't show off their striking, and you get these weird back and forth battles where you just don't get the sense that either guy is showing off their best. Like I said, tonight was a little different. I think Brendan Allen, even though it wasn't maybe not an A+ performance, it was like a solid A. It looked great. But yeah, middleweight is just that division. Every division has their qualities. We're starting to see some of that in heavyweight too. I mean, I don't know how much we're going to talk about Augusto Sakai and Dontel Mays, the new penultimate fight of the evening. But that, and then we had the heavyweight fight, or light heavyweight fight. No, heavyweight fight last week, which had a similar quality to it. So heavyweight's getting that there too. But middleweight has historically been talented fighters that at some point it just becomes, I don't know, for some reason they can't put it all together when they get in there. If anyone wants an idea of what I'm talking about, Phil McKenzie, I think it was Phil McKenzie and Connor Robush from Bloody Elbow they used to have a series called The League of Extraordinary Journeymen. They specifically talked about the phenomena. So the research is a little old, but for anyone not familiar with what we're our description of the middleweight division, go check that out. That's on Bloody Elbow still, and really look at any of our tweets and comments about middleweight for the last 2 or 3 years. I don't know, for the longest time. That's just how the division is.
Look, here's how it became a thing. Krzysztof Jocko was like the ultimate number 16th ranked middleweight, and for anybody who wanted to get ranked, you had to beat him. And if you beat him, then you became a ranked guy. But if you couldn't, you weren't. You just wouldn't. And Jocko's just beating everybody. He's just eking out decisions against all these guys who were like so close. So as that just continued to evolve, we just started after the Gerald Mearshart win. He was officially the middleweight champion because we thought maybe GM3 was going to get over that hump, and he just couldn't. And then he was officially crowned that champion. And then he fights Brendan Allen next. Brendan Allen beats him. So henceforth, he becomes the middleweight champion. But I feel like this has become such a thing. Like people are talking about it on Twitter. I think it was trending at one point, middleweight. Like people are just talking about this thing. This could be the evolution of the middleweight title. Brendan Allen could put his whole new twist on it. He could throw the belt in the trash and create his own new title. Like there's so much he could do with the power that he possesses after this victory over Andre Muniz. It's unbelievable. And that leads me to you, Shaheen, because AK, you and I are going to talk about this tomorrow. Sean, you're a wrestling fan. Do you remember when Chris Jericho was feuding with Dean Malenko and he said, "Oh yeah, Dean Malenko, you're the man of 1,000 holds. Well, I'm the man of 1,004 holds." And he pulled out like this printer paper that was all attached together and he read off each hold one at a time. I felt like that's what Brendan Allen did with this call out tonight. He just took out a big piece of paper, unrolled it, and read every middleweight's name off the list in hopes of getting somebody. So if you are the UFC middleweight matchmaker right now, you're seeing Brendan Allen with this title, first title defense, big win over a guy like Andre Muniz. What do you do with him? What do you do with this man?
That's a good question. And I would say first, also the man called the shot. I have to say, I have to just throw that out there. The man called this shot. If you check out MMA Fighting, great website. If you check it out this morning, an article came out from our good friend Damon Martin. Brendan Allen welcomes grappling battle with Andre Muniz. Quote, "I think my jiu-jitsu is just as good, if not better." Man called his shot to a T, and no one believed him. I'm sure when that article went out, you could imagine what the comments were, but man pulled it off. Who's next? That's a good question for me. I mean, you're right. He kind of just sprayed the entire middleweight division there. He kind of just scattershotted that into the crowd and see who's going to bite. I would like the Sean Strickland rematch. If you kind of give me my druthers. That feels like an interesting fight for the time. Sean's sort of in this same place in the division where he's kind of in that 10 to 15 range that I think Brendan Allen's now probably in as well. That to me feels like it'd be a good time for it. In regard, really, I mean, I wouldn't say there's a wrong answer, right? Roman Dolidze, like I think that could be good. Jack Hermanson, if you want to talk about middleweights, keep this train rolling. I think anyone in that range feels good of just sort of the lower end of the top 15, top 10 type of range.
Yeah, and I mean, Brendan Allen picked a great time to win this fight because we got DDP Derek Brunson next week. Marvin Vettori's fighting Roman Dolidze at the London card, UFC 286. So Hermanson doesn't have a dance partner. Who knows what the hell is going on with Paulo Costa right now? So this is a great opportunity to get a win and have a great performance. And Brendan Allen gets it done, becomes the main event after Nikita Krylov shows up to the Apex. He's ill, not cleared to fight. Ryan Spann reacted to it. I felt so bad for the guy, like initially. And then after watching his scrum in the back with the media members, man, your heart just broke for that, man. You can go to MMAfighting.com and check that out, courtesy of our friends over at MMA Mania. But congratulations to Brendan Allen. Andre Muniz, look, this guy he might not be fighting for a world title, but he's still very, very good. This is a setback. Nobody goes undefeated. It just doesn't happen unless you're Yaroslav Amosov or Khabib Nurmagomedov and John Jones, depending on who you ask. But guy's still really good. There's still fun fights for him. He'll learn from it. He'll get better, and excited to see what is next for him. But no, AK, you mentioned the Dontel Mays, Augusto Sakai fight, and that's as much as we're going to talk about it unless people want to ask about it. But I think what people want to hear about and want to talk about is the successful return of Tatiana Suarez, AK. She comes back. Montana De La Rosa brought the fight to her. A little rusty at first. Tatiana had to get her bearings about her. And then eventually, once she got cooking and once that gear shifted up, boy, she was a wrecking ball. Gets a submission. She was all fired up, very emotional, rightfully so. Her man, Patchy Mix in her corner, shouted him out. What did you think of Tatiana Suarez's performance? Did this live up to the expectations you had? Because it was kind of impossible, right? It was kind of almost like unreachable expectations of what people wanted to see from her.
Yeah, I think this is why we talk about so much MMA, and I'm not blaming the UFC for this. I don't know if this is possible with just the way MMA is structured, like the concept of tune-up fights. This is why tune-up fights are so valuable. This is why fighters like Montana De La Rosa, in her own way, are valuable. She just talking about Montana for a second. She's a tough fighter. She has a skill set that theoretically could like at least give difficulties to a fighter like Tatiana Suarez. But at the same time, if you're the UFC, you probably don't view Montana as a contender. You think that she's someone that Tatiana can beat. Anyone watching right now is like saying "duh" to every statement, and I'm like, yeah, this is how combat sports should work. You wish that when a fighter was coming back, or a fighter who's falling in the rankings, like an Edmund Shabazian, for example, like you wish they gave them fights like this to properly gauge where they are, as opposed to just keep throwing them up against the brick wall of other contenders, of up and coming fighters. Like, so again, I say this with respect to Montana. She was the right matchup for Tatiana, and Tatiana Suarez played it perfectly. I mean, we in our picks, we do picks every week on our Slack channel. All of us picked second round finish for Tatiana Suarez. I think we all assumed it would be a bit of a feeling out period, which is what we saw. It wasn't like she just came out double leg Montana De La Rosa right away, slammed her, and went to work. It's like, no, she had to go to work as the fan. She had to, you could see her just kind of having to rediscover the rhythm of being in a fight, of doing MMA, like actual competitive grappling. Cause I'm sure she's all the hours she put in practice. It's just never the same as actually being in there and going against someone that is fighting for their life, fighting for their careers. So she fought very smart. I thought the first round, very competitive. And then the second round, we saw what makes her so special. We saw the grappling. We saw her take. We saw that strength. We saw her take over. Again, fighting in a weight class that is not her own. She certainly looks like a healthy sized flyweight, but again, this is 10 pounds heavier than she normally competes. Plus, I don't know, whatever weight she actually weighed in on a fight night. So, yeah, it played out as we expected. If people think that, thought that Tatiana Suarez was a surefire contender 3 years ago, I don't see why that should change after tonight. This was the right matchup for her, and it was a great performance. And most importantly, I think everyone's really excited to see her next fight. And that's another objective of a tune-up fight is make this fighter familiar with people again, and build up her next appearance. So I think it did that in spades. So top marks, 10 out of 10 all around for the matchmakers and for Tatiana Suarez.
We'll get Shaheen's reaction to this in a moment, but Casey, we do have some breaking news. If you want to fire the breaking news music. We have bonuses, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, this is weird.
Not surprising. Brendan Allen, performance of the night. Tatiana Suarez, performance of the night. But also Mike Malott, performance of the night. Trevor Peak, performance of the night. Jordan Levitt, performance of the night, and Joe Selecki, performance of the night. So anyone who got a finish tonight got themselves an extra 50 G's.
What?
There you go.
You love to see it.
I'm
finish bonuses,
you love
baby.
Hold on, you love to see it, but why? Why this card? Well, I don't understand. How is this fair to fighters on other cards? Like, I don't understand.
They had a whole bunch of extra money because they didn't have to pay the main eventers tonight.
But why doesn't I'm just looking at last week's card, by the way. Why doesn't Philippe Lins get a bonus for a 49-second knockout last week? Why is he stiff 50 G's? Like, how is this fair? Why we mentioned this, I think, after UFC 283, which is a really good card, had a ton of exciting finishes, and only 4 bonuses were handed out there. One fight of the night. Like, I'm so glad all these guys got paid, but this should be, as Shaheen just said, it should be a finish bonus.
Standard. Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Like, I'd be so pissed if I'm one of these fighters on one of these other cards. Why did they choose arbitrarily to give out 6 bonuses tonight? This is dumb.
I mean, you go back 15 years, they were arbitrarily choosing that certain cards would be 80K, certain cards would be 90K, certain cards would be 100K. Like, And
Yeah.
that's always how this stupid system works. You just pray that you're on the right side of the arbitrary luck, right? Finish bonuses is the way, though. At least I'm glad they did that tonight. Like, if that's just the thing we're gonna do moving forward, that would be excellent. Obviously, we know that's not going to be the case, but that would be great.
That would be great. And then if there's like an absolute banger, give that fight of the night too. Like you can do it. You have the money.
You can do it.
But
You can do it.
You can
That's
do
the
it.
thing. That's the thing. Like, the fans always argue, like, "Oh, it's not your money. It's easy for you to give it away." Y'all, they were literally giving out 80K bonuses 15 years ago, guys. Like, they were giving out more money way back in the day. Like, they're making money hand over fist. They have the money. They're fine. Don't worry about the UFC.
Yeah. If I had their money, I'd probably give more bonuses, but I don't have their money. So I mean, if they want a couple bucks, I can help you out there. But
well, you're a generous man, Mike. We all know you're a generous man.
I try to do it. I try to do what I can. But Tatiana Suarez is $50,000 richer, Shaheen, and she should be after that performance. Did this live up to the expectations for you? Because we've been waiting almost 4 years for this, and she comes back. I thought Montana De La Rosa a perfect opponent to come back to. She ain't gonna back down. Good size. She's strong. She's tough. She's got skills everywhere. She's good at everything. I thought this was perfect matchmaking, and this fight played out almost exactly the way I thought it would.
Did it live up to expectations is an interesting way to frame it, because I think a lot of people probably had expectations that maybe surpassed what we saw tonight, right? Like, she wasn't ever in trouble tonight. It was a rout pretty through and through, but she did sort of take a while to get her bearings. But to anyone who I would say is disappointed or maybe underwhelmed by this, like, again, contextualize it, right? 4 years, basically 4 years away. It is not an easy thing to come in here and after 4 years away, just reacclimate yourself right away to the situation, the lights, live opposition rather than sparring, all of that. Not everybody can be Dominic Cruz, who can come back after 3-4 year breaks and destroy Takeya Mizugaki in like less than a minute, or win a belt against TJ Dillashaw. Like, that's just not the norm. So, like AK said, I think on our Slacks channel, our internal Slacks channel, we all picked second round finish. Seemed like that was always going to kind of be the path. Take those first 5 minutes, really feel your way through it, reacclimate yourself to the octagon and just this environment, and then really go for it. And that's what we saw. And to me, I was impressed by Tatiana Suarez coming back from such a long layoff like this and really kind of throwing up a flawless performance, right? Like, she was never really in trouble. She didn't really get hurt. She kind of was able to be successful in everything she was trying to do in there. And that's the thing, man. Like, if Tatiana Suarez is able to be here this year, that is a good thing for the women's divisions as a whole, because this is one of the best talents in women's MMA, or at least she was back in 2018, 2017, 2019 range, when all of us were out here saying that she's going to be a future champion. At 115, she instantly makes that top mix so much more interesting than it's been in a while, because we've kind of had the same, for as fun as most of these fights have been. And I say most because obviously you have Rose and Carla out there sitting on an island. But for the most part, these top fights at 115 have been really fun. But they've also just been retreads and recycling of the same few people, right? Rose, Carla, Zhang, and Andrade, right? Those four are sort of just cycling in and out. And Joanna was in that mix too before she retired. Suarez instantly, to me, belongs in that conversation. I don't know that I instantly want to see her fight anyone of that ilk, although maybe Carla rematch would maybe be interesting. I think a similar result would play out in the way we saw it in 2018. But I would still like to see Tatiana maybe get one more to work her way into that mix at 115, get the weight cut right, really just do this slow. We can slow roll this to a certain degree. We don't need to just rush her there. But she belongs, just talent-wise, now in that conversation, in my mind. And one thing that makes her really supremely interesting for a potential opponent for Zhang, ultimately down the road, is something that I think AK mentioned, which is the strength, right? Like, Tatiana Suarez is so impossibly strong at 115, and that is exactly what we've seen from Zhang as well. She is just a fire hydrant in there. She is so strong, and this combined strength of those two women, the way their styles would mesh together, to me, would be a supremely interesting fight. I hope we can get to it. But tonight was a perfect first step. Again, reintroducing herself. I think also, like, she's been gone long enough to where the actual MMA audience, or at least 50%, 60% of the MMA audience right now, a lot of the new fans, pandemic fans, they probably don't have no idea who Tatiana Suarez is, right? Like we're just talking about her in these terms and in these glowing ways. But I think a lot of the fan base, this was probably their first experience with Tatiana Suarez, unless they went back and rewatched some of her old fights. So again, just reintroducing yourself to a whole new fan base, reintroducing yourself after 4 years away, and reintroducing yourself just to an environment with these type of stakes. I think Tatiana Suarez passed every test that she could have tonight, and I'm very excited for the idea of this being her year to finally get back and be healthy, because I still have a lot of faith in her.
I had a friend that I went to high school with text me today about that exact thing, and he knew who Trevor Peek was more than Tatiana Suarez heading into tonight.
It's a long time, man.
To think about. That's insane to think about. Oh man. What a performance. Yeah, 115 is going to be a lot of fun. AK, I'm sure we'll be talking about the matchmaking for her. I think Montana De La Rosa deserves a lot of credit. She's been put in a lot of tough positions. She has just fought killer after killer. Apparently Dana White's talking to the media right now, and she put Montana over as a badass. So good on her. It's just a tough fight. Not a lot of people are going to say yes to that, and Montana probably didn't even hesitate to say yes. And I thought this was perfect matchmaking. This is the perfect opponent, and Montana had some moments in the fight and showed that she's strong as hell too. So good stuff. Congratulations, Tatiana Suarez. What a year it's going to be for her and her boyfriend, Patchy Mix, who's about to fight Rafion Stotts for the interim bantamweight title in Bellator in April in Hawaii for the $1 million. So great performance there. AK, let me go to you. Any other performance that really stood out to you tonight? You mentioned Trevor Peek. There's some others from the bonus winners. Any fight, any individual performance kind of under the radar that isn't going to age particularly well with this never-ending news cycle that you would like to shout out here?
I mean, I got to talk about Canadians, Mike. I mean, Mike Malott winning a 50 Gs for that. He was expected to beat Johan Linus, but still, great job. Another finish for him, 2-0 in the UFC, both by finish. And 50,000 USD, that's like 800,000 Canadian. So he's become... Like he's going to come back to Ontario, and it's literally changes the whole economy. Him getting that bonus, so I'm a little scared, but congrats to him. I just want to say this name because I want to say it how she said it was pronounced on the American. Yeah, Yasmin Yasudavicius apparently is the if you don't want to anglicize it. So I'm gonna try and roll with that. Yeah, I'm just gonna say Jasmine because it's much easier. But Yasmin Yasudavicius looked great. She looked great. She was the underdog. Going in, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the line had gone in favor of Gabriela Fernandez. It's very, very slight, but people have been counting out Jasmine. I don't think her last fight, obviously she didn't look that great in it. You have people like Connor Burks hating on her, and he's paid the price. He's taking his licks on social media, so he's a good man. I've got to shout out both my Canadians. I don't know what the ceiling for both these fighters are. I'll be honest. I think Malott looks good at welterweight, but again, we'll see. You know how it is with me. I like to see a guy or gal go like 3-0 and then give them a step up. So let's take our time with Mike Malott. This was only his ninth pro fight, I think 9th or 10th pro fight. So he looks like a guy who's more advanced than that, but I don't see any needs to rush him anywhere. So good for Malott. And same with Jasmine. Listen, we know flyweight. It's actually a tougher division than people give it credit for. We've been saying this for years. Some people, Ara Helwani, just recently got on the bandwagon saying like, "Oh, this is suddenly such an intriguing division." We've been bigging up women's 125 for a long time. So I don't know where she sits in that. But 2-1 in the UFC, not bad. Again, looks more experienced than her record would suggest. So I don't know. Maybe she does have a future as a ranked flyweight. But either way, I'm not projecting any big things for either fighter yet. Typical humble Canadian. But I was happy to see him get the win. And good day for Canadians overall. Shout out to Jeremy Kennedy.
Yes. Shaheen, who is like your 10th player award winner for UFC Vegas 70?
I mean, I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to just change the question. I'm going to go off the board. I'm talking about Yaroslav Amosov because what we just saw today at Bellator 291, like, I don't even know if we're going to get to it. We just saw one of the best welterweights in the world, ladies and gentlemen. Like it's official. You have to pay attention. You don't have to do anything. You do whatever you want. I'm not your dad, but you should pay attention if you're a good MMA fan, because Yaroslav Amosov just pulled off an incredible feat tonight, coming in here, basically beating the brakes off at Logan Storley, far, far worse than he did the first time around these guys fought. This man just basically lost a year off of the prime of his career fighting a war, an actual war to defend his country from an invasion, and somehow came in here tonight looking better and more prepared and more well-rounded and just generally more dangerous than he ever has before in his entire life. He looked sensational, Mike. Like Yaroslav Amosov, has been out of sight, out of mind because he hasn't really fought since 2021. But this man is 27-0 at this point. That is an obscene record to pull off in MMA, and a lot of that is against very high-level competition, regardless of what you think of Bellator. Yaroslav Amosov just pulled off one of the feel-good stories of the year today. And again, I am so supremely impressed by this guy. And if you have a top 10 just globally when it comes to the welterweight rankings, and you don't have Yaroslav Amosov in your top 10, you're just doing it wrong. That's frankly, that's the truth. You're just a Bellator hater at this point, because that man, again, so damn impressed on a lot of facets, on a lot of factors of how he pulled off what he pulled off tonight. Because Logan Storley is no one's mark, and Yaroslav Amosov handled him easy, man. That was an incredible fight. That was the most incredible performance of the night.
It is impossible to look good in a fight against Logan Storley. It's impossible to look good against him. Even when Amosov beat him the first time, he didn't look good. It was a fun fight. Like, he made Storley a little more fun, but he didn't look great in that fight. He looked good enough to win. He looked spectacular tonight. Spectacular.
He looked like a top 5 welterweight. I think he's a top 5
His striking got so much better. And it was really good anyways. And people don't really talk about it because they remember the Douglas Lima fight, and he just took Lima down over and over and over again, just frustrated the hell out of him. But man, he was the footwork, the movement, everything he did tonight was just spot on. He had Storley bleeding like a sieve 3 minutes into the fight. It was crazy. He looked fantastic. I will say this, AK, and I'll let you wax poetically on Amosov if you like as well. Yaroslav Amosov, in my rankings, at worst, will be number 6. He might be number 5.
I can't hate on
but
him.
He
I
will
have him
at
number 5
worst be
on
number
ours.
6.
On ours right now, I have him number 5. I can't hate on it.
Yeah, he's that good. I'm that impressed, and I think he beats a lot. I don't know if he's the best welterweight in the world, but he beats a lot of guys. He beats a lot of guys in that top 10. AK, your thoughts on Amosov's performance, and why are you going to rank him number 13?
No. Listen, I have him higher than most. Listen, this is one of those situations where I'm not going gaga about it because I already had him ranked higher than most of you jokers did. All right, I know about Amosov. I've spoken to Amosov. He's a good, humble man. I'm a fan. I have him at number 7 already. Now the question is, how much am I going to move him up? I know, and again in our internal discussions, we've kind of all thrown out some names that that Amosov should jump over. And I kind of agree. It's hard. We talked about this with Lorenz Larkin recently. We've talked about it with what's going to happen with Johnny Elblin going forward. Is Amosov is at risk of getting Bellator, which is to say, it's hard for them to find really top shelf comparable competition for him to face in that promotion right now. There's good names. Listen, like I said, he can rack up title defenses. Amosov and Elblin, I'm talking about both of them. They can rack up title defenses there, but these fighters just don't have that cachet or just don't have that track record that you have when you're fighting in the UFC. That's just how it is. And I'm not just saying it's a matter of name. I do think if you look at some of the best names of the UFC and you look at their histories, there's a reason why they are in the top 10. It isn't just the promotion they fight for. So yeah, I don't know how high Elblin can go. I don't know how high Amosov can go. In my rankings, he's behind like Bilal Muhammad, Colby Covington, and Gilbert Burns. Those are 3 names directly ahead of him. And theoretically, he should be able to jump them. But all those guys have such strong resumes and have done well recently. It's not like any of these guys have really fallen off. We can debate the Covington thing if we want to. He just hasn't fought. But it's hard for me to put him over him. So I'm not going to make any guarantees right now that he rises above 7. There is a chance I just keep him there. I don't want to get too caught up in the moment because I like Amosov a lot, but I already had him high. So I don't know if I necessarily feel the need to course correct here and suddenly vault him up. But certainly, I will say this: you match him up with anyone ahead of him, I like his chances. I literally, maybe Chimaev if you want to, if you're still on that bandwagon, which I kind of am. That's the one where I would definitely pick Chimaev to beat him. But I like how he matches up with Leon Edwards, Usman, Burns, all these guys like Muhammad. He's really good. He's just a really good, well-rounded welterweight, and 27-0 doesn't happen by accident.
Yes. Shout out to Trevor Peak. That guy's just wonderful. No shout out to Kerry Hatley for allowing poor Eric Gonzalez to just take way too much punishment. Like, that was brutal. Just, he gets knocked down. Trevor Peek, just being the wonderful man that he is, looking at the referee like, we're done here, right? And the ref's just standing there, and he goes, "Oh man!" And he has to actually unleash two brutal uppercuts. Finally, Hatley steps in and stops it. Trevor Peek is just so much fun. So congratulations to him. And then one more for Bellator. We talked about this on the People's Pre-Fight show. The Bellator prelims are kind of tough to watch. It was just long. It felt like where I was watching Bellator fights for like 14 hours. But just when we needed a finish, just when we needed to change course a little bit, young Norbert Novenyi Jr. comes in and just throttles a man in like 3 minutes. Every time he touched this man, he fell to the floor. And the referee just was like, dude, if I let you continue to fight, you're going to get hurt real, real bad. So this is the opposite of what Kerry Hatley did. And young Norbert Novenyi Jr. at just 23 years of age, this man is a problem at 185 pounds. This man could be contending for the middleweight title, representing Team Bellator. But this kid's going to be real good. A fight is going to happen in the next 3 years between this guy and Johnny Eblin, and it is going to be unreal. So just preparing you. That's how high I am in this kid. He's not going to fight him anytime soon, but 2 to 3 years. He missed 2.5 years already due to an injury and COVID and all this stuff, but he came back in a big way tonight, and just we needed a finish so badly. He comes through and gives it to us. So congratulations to him. Yeah, I mean, look, it wasn't a bad night of fights. It sucked losing the main event, but we got what? We ended up at 10 fights. Pretty solid.
We saw more history too. We saw the continuation of the domination, the legacy of Phil DeFries, KSW, the greatest heavyweight champion in the history of Poland. Are you kidding me? Phil DeFries, what is this now? Eight title defenses deep?
8 in a row.
That's the greatest heavyweight title run besides Fedor. Like, what are we talking about? This is great. He demolished Todd Duffee too. Like, that wasn't even a fight. Todd Duffee didn't put up any sort of fight. That was a wash through and through. And then calls out Alistair Overeem. Like, let's get Alistair Overeem on those KSW PEDs. You know, like those KSW drugs. Get him all juiced up. Get Overeem back. Throw him in against Phil DeFries. Let's go. Let's have some fun, Mike.
Oh, I'm so fired up right now. I didn't think it'd be this jacked up after UFC Vegas 70. Jordan Levitt just chucking him out there, getting knockouts. That was pretty impressive. Ode Osborne, Charles Johnson, it's a fun fight. Joe Selecki, what a nice guy. What a great family. His wife's pregnant, about to have the next kid, and Joe's like, I know you can't come to Vegas. Like, I'm sorry I had to leave you. And she just came to Vegas anyway, surprised him during his weight cut. I mean, what a couple those two are. And then Nurulo Aliev apparently biting people, but still winning fights. I don't know. We were doing the pre-fight show, so I had no idea what happened.
What's the golden rule?
Just cheat. Always cheat.
Always cheat.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
I didn't think biting would be a part of the cheating. The cheating festivities, but hey, listen, apparently nothing is off limits at this point, and he gets his first UFC win. So good job, buddy. Good job. Just 22 years of age. Do we have questions, Casey? How are the peeps reacting to such just a wild day of comments? The poll, AK. The poll,
by the way, the poll.
We didn't even get to AK's favorite part of the day.
No, of course. Listen, who won? We had a poll. We put a poll up. We got a lot of votes already. Who won Saturday Fight Day? Of course, UFC. I guess it's the one most people watched. 46%. Bellator actually pretty close behind, 32%, and KSW tied with Mayweather Chalmers at 11%. Mayweather Chalmers had like nothing when I started the polls, so a late surge there. I guess people want to talk about it. There's not a lot to say. It was a pretty dull watch, not like bad. It had a very brisk pace. There was literally almost no like padding. It was like a fight. All the fights were exhibitions. I think. All the fights were exhibitions. So it was a exhibition ranging anywhere from 3 to 4, like 3 to 4 rounds. I don't think any of the ones on the undercard were more than 4 rounds. 2-minute rounds. So the fights were brisk. Again, they would talk about it a little bit after, send out the next people. So the fights were not particularly great. So some people put in a really fine effort. Like, I'm not going to hate on that, but there just wasn't a lot of like excitement. I'm not surprised the crowd took their time. The crowd at O2 Arena, where this took place, kind of took their time shuffling in, but seemed like a pretty decent house by the end. The co-main, I shouldn't even call it that, but I guess we have to. Shaheen, I know you and I were both watching this, featuring
we've made terrible decisions in our life. That's
okay.
How we got led to
Two
watch
women, Natalie Nunn and Tommy Lee. I'm guessing some people are more familiar with these two women than I am. You had to do some Googling. They're housewives of Atlanta.
It was something like Love and Hip Hop Atlanta.
Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Excuse me.
I don't know if this is
okay.
Right.
It sounds like they're previous reality show veterans, much like Aaron Chalmers himself in the main event. And then they're part of a new show. I'm doing free advertisement here, people. A new show on the Zeus Network. It's an online. I don't think it's a TV channel. I'm pretty sure it's online only. The Zeus Network called Baddies. Shaheen, I'm going to you. I'm throwing to you here. Don't leave me hanging, because you were talking about this for the rest of the night. You referenced this fight in our private conversations like 7 or 8 times after, like later on, and I was like, stop. Eventually, I said, stop talking about the baddies. It was just a really ugly. I mean, based on the description, you can tell. I couldn't find a video. I don't know if anyone like even tweeted out like a legal video, but it's just these two women who did not look to be anywhere near the same weight class, throwing hands, literally, like not boxing, just literally.
One of them was definitely not wearing like a boxing top. Like it was not.
No, it was like a normal like workout top or something. Anyway, and then it was weird. The one you're talking about, I believe this is Tommy Lee. Like she kind of like flopped down in between rounds, and they thought she was hurt, but she was like trolling them. It was really weird. And then they had to.
There was like a ponytail stoppage.
Yeah. Yes. Well, she was getting wrecked, and then they went to go, and then the referee's like, "Okay, this is enough. This is ridiculous." And then her corner was like, "Oh, don't worry, we're just going to fix up her ponytail. It's like causing a vision issue." So she thought the fight wasn't going to continue, and the referee was saying multiple times, like, "No, it's over. This fight is over." So I wish I could tell people to go find a replay of it or find more coverage of it on MMAfighting.com, but we didn't really talk about it much. I don't want to make a post for it.
We're talking about it a lot now.
I literally, to let the
lot.
people know, I was the last one to jump into our little video thing that we have going on here. And you guys were already talking. And as I jumped in, the first thing you said to me was, "You can't mention the baddies, Sean. You can't mention the baddies." You just did like a whole play-by-play of the baddies.
Exactly. I said you can't. I said you can't. That's just, yes. My wording was very specific. I didn't say none of us can. I said you can't. Because I think because you loved it too much. And is there something you'd like to say about that fight, Shane?
No, I think you covered most of it.
Okay, and then
I'm pretty sure the replay of that has been wiped off the internet already.
Okay, and I didn't see anyone tweeting anything about. Even Kaposa didn't touch that, or Matisik on Twitter, and these guys cover everything. So,
is there gonna be a Robbie review?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. No. That was
that's the coverage you're gonna say.
Right.
But Mayweather Chalmers was what you would expect. Mayweather. This was an 8-round fight, though originally on screen they had it as 6 rounds. It was very confusing. The broadcast seemed to not know how many rounds there were. I believe it was advertised as 8-rounder too, so I'm not sure what happened there. So eventually 2 rounds were tacked on, and the commentators were like, "Oh, are they just getting extra rounds?" Anyway, but yeah, Aaron Chalmers, Bellator veteran, not the most seasoned boxer. Couldn't touch Floyd for 8 rounds. I mean, Floyd was just styling on him, talking to the cameraman. He's talking to people at ringside, talking to his corner, just talking to Aaron Chalmers, and picking it apart with his jab. It was, listen, if you like Floyd Mayweather, not a good human being, but certainly a good boxer, you probably enjoyed it. You got to see a lot of what Floyd does in his fights, but even more offensive than usual because he's fighting a guy who has zero fear of. And people who went to paid their hard-earned money to watch him at the OT Arena certainly got their money's worth. They got to see Floyd Mayweather box, and that was it. So I don't know, it's weird. I'm kind of passionless about the event. It wasn't the best thing I've ever seen. No, but if you listen to the baddies, right? Listen, if you paid money for this, if you're like, I'm a huge Floyd Mayweather fan, I just want to see Floyd Mayweather fight, I'm paying pay-per-view or I'm paying for a ticket, you weren't disappointed. You were like, yeah, this is what exhibitions should be. If this is what Floyd Mayweather exhibitions are for the rest of time, then you're probably gonna be happy following his exhibition career, because this is what you get.
If you're a baddies fan, did you get your money's worth?
You got more than your money's worth. Awesome. You should have paid extra if you were a Baddies fan.
Sounds like a great show. That's all I hear.
AK, how was the crowd? Because I mean, I saw videos of people like walking through the concourse, and there was literally nobody in the concourse at all.
I saw that too. That was a little unfair because that was like just before the quote unquote undercard started, and the undercard, like I said, was bad. Was bad. It was bad. It was all exhibition bouts. I think there was another influencer fight on there, but I wasn't familiar with either boxer, so that obviously wasn't enough to draw people in to come in early. That's why someone would, if you're just watching from home, you'd be like, oh yeah, I know this person, but you wouldn't show up early for them. Because again, like I said, by the main event, even by the third to last fight in the card, I think it was about as filled up as it could be. I don't know if it's sold out, but it was a healthy crowd. So those videos were a little unfair. There were people there.
Okay. AK, you left out the best part of the Chalmers Mayweather fight, the whole experience, which was like, so the whole time these guys are fighting, it says round 1 of 6, round 1 of 7, or 2 of 6, 3 of 6. I mentioned it the whole way.
Yep.
Then we finished round 6, and it seemed like everyone in ring just sort of unanimously decided, like, hey, let's just do 2 more. No. You guys want to go to 8? Let's just go to 8. And so, like, the announcers had no idea what was going on, and all of a sudden,
fantastic.
It was a great audible.
Hold on, I mentioned,
and then all of a sudden, the counter at the bottom says round 7 of 8. They just had it
one more round. Yeah.
Hold on, we can't misrepresent this. I believe it was advertised an 8-round fight, and the broadcast just screwed up. The broadcast did not know what was going on because originally, if anyone was following the live blog, we originally had it as an 8-rounder. So I do think, and then I was literally changing it on the fly. I'm like, okay, it's a 6-rounder. I saw on screen. I changed it to a 6-rounder.
Even Chalmers on the MMA Hour this week, though, had no idea whether it was 6 or 8. It was just kind of in the air the entire time. It's whatever we feel like once we get to that moment. And
there's a lot. It's true though. There's a lot of things we didn't know. Whether it would even happen. Floyd didn't show up to the weigh-ins, like the ceremonial weigh-ins.
I mean, when it's your birthday, you got birthday business to attend to.
It was his birthday on Friday.
You know a lot about birthdays, AK.
I love them.
I will say, because we haven't mentioned it yet, and I was the one who covered one championship for the website yesterday. I do just want to mention the one championship main event Friday night because it was utterly sensational. It was probably my favorite fight of February, unless I'm missing one that just off the top of my head, just thinking about it. But like Fabricio Andrade versus John Lineker. If you haven't seen that, dial up Amazon Prime, go watch that. That was a hell of a fight, man. Hell of a scrap. And Andrade is for real, guys. Like he put the wood to John Lineker to the point where John Lineker's team had to stop it going into the 5th round. And it was an incredibly brave and correct call by his team to stop it. Like all the kudos in the world to John Lineker's team for making that executive decision right there, because we've seen it in MMA that's just not a very accepted sort of practice in MMA to stop these fights mid-round and save the fighters from themselves.
Especially for someone like Lineker who still had
one punch power.
Victory. He still had that path to victory, and they were brave enough to save their fighters.
Brave's the right call. Yeah. No, Brave's the perfect call, because you're 100% right. Even in that 4th round, Lineker was landing his trademark Lineker hooks. Like he was landing a couple of them. But dude, Andrade has a chin on it, man. He was eating those like it was nothing and just walking through it, straight through it. That's not twice this man's just really blasted the hell out of John Lineker. And for a 25-year-old, like, I know people aren't going to be thinking about Fabricio Andrade a lot in the U.S. when it comes to top bantamweights or featherweights or whatever you want to consider these dudes in one championship. But man, that kid's a talent. That was an utterly sensational fight.
Did you enjoy that fight more than Makhachev Volkanovski?
No. So there you go. I knew there was one I was missing.
I was curious. I mean, I don't know if there's a wrong answer to this, because they were both enjoyable in totally different ways. You know what I mean? Like this. I mean, that was a fun fight. That was really fun to watch last night. Yeah.
It was different fun. And it was in a ring. It was a different.
It was in a ring. It was in a ring. So much better.
At Lumpai, I guess the new Lumpai, how do you say it? Lumpai Stadium in Thailand. So that was awesome. I just wish that place was lit up. So it was just really, it's shot so weird. Did it look really underexposed to you on your TVs? Like some shots were just dark. Okay.
The production was a little strange.
It's just dark. It was just weird. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was my TV or not, so I'm glad that it's everyone's weird experience. But yeah,
I will say too, for anyone who's fiending for extra violence, the fight right before the Lineker fight was like a Muay Thai 1 championship championship fight. I'm not a Muay Thai guy, so I'm not familiar with either of the two gentlemen, but ended in like a 40-something second leg kick KO.
Oh, that was
Go watch
nasty.
that.
One shot
Go
leg
watch
kick
that.
KO. Ooh,
It was that'll give you nightmares.
just no crazy leg break or anything like that, but just
No
thud and just like
baseball bat.
yeah, just instant.
Yeah.
It's weird, like when guys get like really good body shots, it's like a half second. You get a really hard leg kick. It's like
Immediate.
I'm done. I'm out.
That was it. He literally just walked.
It was instant. It was
Yeah.
instant. As soon as it kicked, and like before his opponent's foot even hits the ground, he's just like, I'm done. It was amazing.
All right. What are the peeps saying, Casey?
We have a few questions. Yeah. Oops.
Okay.
Let me see what we got here. Yeah, a lot of love for Amosov actually in the comments. So I'm glad we brought it up. Yeah, a lot of love for him.
We have a very sophisticated fan base here at MMA.
Yeah,
Fighting.
we do.
We love you
We
guys.
say it all the time. We say it all the time.
Yeah.
Fight of the weekend. Yep.
Yep.
He's right.
I had it. I'm sorry. Super bummed out for my teammate Eric Gonzalez getting his butt kicked tonight. But let's talk about Trevor Peek.
Eric Gonzalez versus Trevor Peek was a crazy fight. What is the ceiling for Trevor Peek, and what is next for him? Perhaps he'll be a wild card on to the next one, so I don't want to give my answer, James. I don't know yet, but Shaheen, I mean, Trevor's just fun, man. Like, he is just super fun. That's what you saw tonight is what you're going to see every time that man fights. He's very Luque-ish in a lot of ways, where it's just like, but not he's a greener version of Luque, if that makes sense. And that's just amazing, right? This guy's so
he's
fun.
Nico Price-ish.
He's in the middle. He's like kind of in the middle.
Can I suggest something? He's a bit of a lightweight Derek Lewis. He just threw hammers, and and Eric Gonzalez is he's very good on the ground. And Peak just like he didn't technique it, he just muscled his way up. I don't know. I was like, he just muscled his way up. Exactly. I was about to go, oh yeah, that's that wrestling. I know those takedowns. I've been taken down by those, and he just got up. I was like, oh, that's all you had to do. It was just like so that I was just throwing that in there a bit. Just
that's a good one.
Throw hammers and just get up. I don't know what his ceiling is, but if he's fun.
Lightweight, man.
All good names.
Best division in the sport.
Yeah.
Best division in the whole damn sport, bar none.
Oh, wow. Okay, all right.
Always has been, always will be.
Just shot at bantamweight. Listen, when you say, just say it.
I'm just
Just say
being
it.
honest.
If you want to take a shot
honest.
at bantamweight, take a shot at bantamweight. The real best division right
Bantamweight's
now.
great.
I'm just saying.
Bantamweight's great. But
The
lightweight,
real
come
best
on.
division.
Lineker and Andrade is such a great fight.
I'm just saying. Bar none.
Bar none. Yeah,
Take it
bar
easy.
none. Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Bar none.
Unequivocally.
Bar one.
No, that's not a thing.
People don't say bar one enough.
Bar
I think they say that more.
We didn't actually talk about this at all, but I think this needs to be talked about.
Should Spann and Krylov run it back in San Antonio? That card is on main ESPN, and it needs some help. I don't know, man. Kind of tough.
All these fight night
Yeah.
cards need help, right? Like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
One doesn't need help more than the other.
Is the San Antonio card that bad?
I mean, the San Antonio card has Nate Landwehr versus Alex Caceres, which is just going to be the best type of bananas. So, like, I'm all in on that.
Best type of bananas.
Do we know at all? And this is complete conjecture, by the way. Haley Cowan also pulled out with an illness, and I think we found out. They said with Krylov it was food related.
That's what
Food
they said.
poisoning. It seemed like,
Foodborne. Yeah.
Do we think poor Haley Cowan, who was supposed to fight Eileen Perez on the opened the card Saturday's card and pulled out yesterday? Do we think that she may have also been struck by some bad sushi or something? We'll have to look into this. I'm just saying. I apologize to sushi. I'm just saying a lot of people get sick from sushi sometimes. It's you got to prepare it really well. Because she also, like I said, she had an illness. She said not related to her weight cut. She called it outside medical issue. So I don't know. Could be something obviously completely different.
Yeah.
I hope that's not what happened at the Apex. Just getting taken out by a bad meal or by a cook having an off day or something. Because that would be very very depressing. But yeah, if Ryan Spann is
Yeah, but that sucks for Spann and Krylov. Imagine Krylov have a big training camp, fly to the other side of the world, eat a bad sandwich, then that's
it's a main event for them. Like we make light of it, but it's a main event for them.
That's
a career highlight.
Here's the thing is, I didn't make light of it. I had talked myself into this fight mattering because I had, in my predictions, I was like, light heavyweight is kind of weird division anyway right now. It's not crazy that one of these guys could have gotten a big win tonight, and by the end of the year, like, could have fought for the title with the right matchups. Like, it's not crazy. So I had actually
absolutely.
Absolutely. Light heavyweight is in flux. It's in flux. We just had Glover retire. Yuri Prochazka, we don't know when he's coming back. Jamal Hill just won the UFC title. It's just not a super solid top 15 right now. It really isn't. And both these guys are already ranked, and they're one or two wins away from getting the right matchup and maybe fighting for a title. I don't know. So I was really disappointed. Yeah.
Assuming Krylov isn't hurt, like sick, like he'll be good in a week. I don't know. Do they do this like Spivak Lewis? And they kind of just bump it a month or so?
Yeah, run it back. If Krylov's okay by then.
Yeah.
It's a fight that made sense for the division.
Makes sense. All right, cool.
I think so.
Yeah.
Dana said they're gonna try to run it back, and if for some reason Krylov can't go, they're gonna focus on getting Spann something quicker.
Oh man, I just saw this. So this question about Jordan Levitt, what's next for good old Jordan Levitt? Can you imagine Jordan Levitt versus the guy we just talked about, the lightweight?
Trevor Peak?
Yeah.
Wow, that might be the weirdest fight of all time.
I like that.
I know. I just like imagined it right now. I was like, oh my god, I want to see a full countdown show. I want to see the full prime time on that. Just some random prelim. UFC spends millions of dollars promoting this random prelim between Levitt and Peak.
Also, full marks to Levitt's corner for pulling off the move where they caught him in midair and did the little dance move. Like, that was great. That was tremendous.
That's a trademark, the dirty dancing.
Yeah.
Dominic
okay, there you go. Dirty dancing. I was trying to remember where that's from.
Dominic Cruz was so excited about it too. He's like, do the dance, Levitt.
He's been doing. I mean, they're ready. They already know it's coming since his first pro fight. Amateur fights, he was doing that stuff. So yeah.
And
that's
I guess
Levitt Peak's a good one. That might be the correct answer.
Yeah. Last question. More of a comment. AK, this is at you. You owe an apology to our good friend Sheila.
I actually lost money from listening to your and Jed's high praise of Muniz on the preview show, Sean. I really wanted Alan to win too.
Oh, so I didn't do anything.
Oh, this isn't calling out AK. This is calling me.
That's Shane.
Yeah, I wasn't on the preview show. Sheila, get him, Sheila. Get him.
You led me astray. I was like, oh, man, we're going to call out AK. And then he comes for me.
I wasn't on the preview show, baby.
Look, we stood on a lot of corners, and sometimes we get these corners wrong. I would suggest never trailing us in anything, and then you can't be disappointed in us.
Don't take our advice. I'll show you my Tapology record. Don't listen to anything I say. It's pretty awful. I had pretty good reads on this fight and the Tatiana fight, based on how it was going to go. But sometimes we take sides and we create fake titles, and sometimes you do weird things. But in the end, it's all about listener entertainment and having a good time, because no one has more fun on these shows than we do. There's just no doubt about that. So we're gonna have a lot of fun this coming week.
Sushi power rankings. I'm sorry, I don't even catch up. I'm seeing sushi power rankings going on in the comments right now, and it's spectacular. I love it.
Best listeners in the world. And if you think this weekend was fun with everything going on, we still have Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury tomorrow, and then we'll have
a post show too. We'll have a post show on it too.
Yep. Stream's already built.
Produced by this guy.
That man. I'm very excited.
Producer, AK.
I'll be tuning in.
For your job, Casey.
And then guess what we have to look forward to? UFC 285. Did you see that main card graphic? If that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will, because that main card is redonkulous. And that's worth your $79.99 or wherever it's going to cost. So a lot to look forward to this week. So my suggestion is get a good night's sleep, rest up, get ready to listen to AK and I tomorrow morning on to the next one as we matchmake for this card. It will not be a long show since we only have to matchmake for 4 fights and a wild card. and then get ready for Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury, and then get another good night's sleep and get ready for UFC 285. The MMA Hour, everything we're going to be doing to build up to that. Of course, Jose Youngs will be there. We'll be on site with coverage. It's just going to be a crazy bananas week. So, Casey, you could hit the music. This is a fun night, fun day. And that's it. So for Shaheen Al-Shadi, my best friend Alexander K. Lee, baddest stash in MMA, E. Casey Leiden, I am Mike Heck. Thank you for watching this post-fight show. Have a great rest of the night. We'll see you tomorrow for Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
God, that 285, first 3 fights. One of the best up-and-coming talent we got in the sport, man.